Hello, welcome to the sideboard here at the StarCityGames.com Modern Open in Columbus, part of the SCG Tour, brought to you by Ultimate Guard. I'm Nick Miller alongside Kyle Boggemes. How are we doing today?
Good, thanks for having me.
Now you came prepared with a little Jeskai deck. This is not your typical Jeskai control deck that we've seen in the past. This is more of an aggressive deck, but you have a really unique take on how to play the deck.
Yeah, so instead of playing like a true control deck, Modern's a very diverse format, so you can put the screws on some decks, but inevitably somebody's going to get through that you didn't expect when you play a bunch of reactive cards. So what this deck does is it takes like a more aggressive approach with Lightning Bolt and Lightning Helix and a few other flash creatures, just so you have a shot against everybody at least.
And we've seen the flash strategies before. Snapcaster Mage is very good, of course. Restoration Angel is really good, along with all your instant speed stuff. But you've taken the deck in slightly a different direction than we've seen before. When we see this deck, we usually see things like Remand, Geist to St. Traft, and you don't have any copies of either of those cards in your deck.
Yeah, I think Geist to St. Traft is not what you want to be doing because I'm a Spell Queller deck, so if you play turn 3 Geist, they can't use Lightning Bolt or Path to Exile on it, so they just have this removal in their hand still, so when you play Spell Queller, it dies immediately. Remand also not very good right now because it doesn't protect your Spell Queller like Negate does. And also linear aggro decks like Burn and Affinity and Infect, they can just, all their stuff costs 1 or 0 mana, so Negate just answers it straight up, whereas Remand, you spend your whole turn remanding, while they spend half their turn recasting it.
Okay, yeah, and so the big draw is, of course, you're running main deck Negates over the Remands, and also you have a little Blade Splicer action here, main deck and sideboard to go along with the Restoration Angel.
Yeah, when you play turn 3 Blade Splicer, normally it's primarily for Jund and Abzan mid-range decks. Liliana the Veil embarrasses Geist to St. Traft, it embarrasses, Vendilion Clique is not great against it. Basically, my original version of this deck didn't play Blade Splicer, and I felt like my mid-range match was unwinnable. Once I played 4 Blade Splicer, when you play it on 3, they don't know if they have to kill the Golem or the actual Blade Splicer, because they have to respect the Restoration Angel interaction.
Right, because you put them in a spot where if they bolt that, the token, then you're just going to get another one later on. But if you Liliana, you're just going to get rid of the 1/1 and all that kind of stuff. So you kind of put them in the squeeze.
Yeah, they have outside of Culligan's command that can shoot the Blade Splicer and shatter the Golem. That's the only clean answer within both of those decks combined that is actually it's good against.
Okay, and Spell Queller is a card we've been seeing really pick up in Modern. I mean, Caleb Durwood won the Open with the Spirits deck before, and you're kind of a dedicated Spell Queller deck with a bunch of ways to protect it,
Yeah, there's Cavern of Souls decks. There's Beseiju, Abrupt Decay. There's a bunch of stuff you can't counter, so it's hard to be the counter guy without, you can't answer everything. But Spell Queller exiles the spell, so you can counter uncounterable things, which is awesome. And it continues the theme of you get 1 threat down, and then you play this tempo game, and then eventually close it out with the Celestial Colonnade. You can't control everything for the whole game. It's just stop everything for 3 turns and then win with Burn and additional reach. Right,
and you get to close the game really quick because you have Lightning Bolt and Lightning Helix as your reach, along with Snapcaster Mage. But you also have Cryptic Command, which can kind of tap down and clear the way for your last points of damage. And can't forget Celestial Colonnade, really good too. We saw that pull a lot of weight in your match against Steve Rubin on camera. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the reason I added the Ghost Quarter too. You just want a bunch of lands that do stuff because the deck's curve is really low. There's 3 Restos, 2 Cryptic Commands. Everything else costs less than 4. So I don't want to play too many lands, so I want all of them to do stuff. And Ghost Quarter are really good against the man lands too.
Okay, now we'll take a look at a sideboard here in a second, but you brought this and you feel very comfortable against the majority of the field, though you don't like your Dredge matchup.
I hate my Dredge matchup, but I don't hate it as much as I did 2 hours ago. Once I played against Jacob Ba, I felt much better despite losing to him. It was actually a really close 3-game set. Every other deck I feel really comfortable just because I've practiced so much with the deck.
Okay, so we have some cards that can fight dredge here in your sideboard, but you don't have like the full slate of stuff we see people packing, you know, play sets of ley lines, a bunch of Graph Digger's Cage. You have one each, Cage and Recipes, but you also have Runed Halo here, which a couple copies you can bring in against dredge, but a lot of other things too.
Yeah, there's 2 Rune Halos. You get to board it in against Infect. It names their 3 win conditions: Inkmoth Nexus, Glistener Elf, and Blighted Agent. Against Eldrazi, you get to name Thought Knot Seer, and they can't take card from your hand, and it doesn't deal any damage to you. Also just stops Reality Smasher. Against Through the Breach Valakut decks, if you name Valakut, they can only kill your creatures with the land, and then you just finish them off with Celestial Colonnade. And then against Dredge, you name Prized Amalgam, which is their largest threat by itself, and then you actually have a shot to win.
Right, that's really interesting. How many decks this card can come in and just kind of cripple if you land it, so you don't have just a bunch of excessive copies of cards that fight graveyards.
Yeah. Oh, it's also very good against Boggles because they go all in on one creature.
Yeah, I guess once they put 7 enchantments on one creature, you name it.
Yeah, there's actually not a lot of decks you can play Rune Halo in though, because I'm trying to win in the air with Restoration Angel, Vendilion Clique, Spell Queller. So most of the things I named can't block flyers. If you have protection from it, then they just are on blocking duty, and you still have to answer them. So it's not very good. Right. Also, if you play Planeswalkers, they're also bad, because if I'm like protection from Reality Smasher, they're like, attack your Planeswalker, do something about it. Like, I want to just ignore them straight up.
Okay, other stuff we got, some Izzet Staticaster, your more copies of Blade Splicer, then you have a whole counter suite here between Dispel, Negate, Spell Pierce, and then your more grindy Ancestral Visions, right?
Yep, yeah, against the mid-range decks, I go up to 4 Blade Splicers, go up to 3 Ancestral Visions, so I'm almost like a big mana tap-out deck without exceeding the 4 cost threshold on the spells that I'm playing. So I'm able to grind, but I won't get beaten by like a quick Liliana at the same time.
Now, is the excessive counter spells here for like, combo matchups, or are you kind of just mix and matching, tuning your deck to which exact card you want in the deck?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. Like, Negate is a little slower against Infect, so I get to just swap it with Dispel, so it's just a straight upgrade. Spell Pierce is an additional 1-drop counter when I'm playing against, like, I want it against Valakut because it, like, stops their early ramp. And I don't want to play like so many negates. I don't want 4 negates. That's a lot. So like it's kind of like the 4th negate without getting cluttered at 2. So yeah, there's a lot of matchups where I'll mix and match. Others I'll just want all of them.
All right. Well, the deck looks great. You're 3-1, off to a pretty good start. Your only loss against Dredge, which you're kind of hoping to dodge the rest of the weekend, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, this is a big tournament, and there's only 800 people, so you can lose like 3 times and still make the top 8. So if I feel good about every other matchup and I just want to dodge Dredge, if I lose to it 3 times, that's fine. You can still make top 8, so that's cool.
All right, well, we wish you the best of luck. Thanks for joining me here in the sideboard.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Stay tuned to StarCityGames.com all weekend long for the action here in Columbus.